question I'd like to clarify. It sounded like that 2-year business, what would happen since the entity, the MSBU, is a creature of the Board of County Commissioners? So the county commissioners could fire the whole bunch of them, I guess at their pleasure, and then reconstitute it with a new group of citizens and go on from there? Mm-hmm. And that seems a bit intense political if you just let them do it within a week after they fire everybody.
Yeah. The flip side is, though, if you have an ineffective board that's not meeting, that's not doing things together, and they need to be replaced, and we've heard, I think, testimony from the commissioner that has been done, should the county commission wait 2 years before they appoint a new one?
Good point.
And again, and as a sideline, it just seems to me that the Board of County Commissioners shouldn't be running MSTUs or MSBUs. You know, and they've taken it over in some cases, so the quicker they can get these entities back under an advisory board, the healthier it would be.
I'm glad I asked the question.
Yeah, John.
Tom, I'd like to ask you about the recommendation to change from 10% for petitions to 7%. Is there any, did you find any experience in this county in, say, the last 5 or 10 years of somebody trying to get a petition going? And what was that experience, if anything like that's happened?
None of those examples were given to us if that has been a problem. But we did have several of the folks that came to talk to us that said it's a tall order to get 12,000 signatures on a petition.
But I don't know, it just seems to me it should be a tall order in order to put something before the...
And we agree it should be a tall order, but just by the growth of the county, it's gone from, when the charter was first adopted, approximately 5,000 signatures, to now it's 12,000 signatures. And it will continue to grow, just because the electorate's going to grow. So if it's going to have any effect, it's just getting more and more out of reach. So we felt it was sort of time to reset the clock back to what it was, and you know, when the charter was first, or near to what it was when the charter was first adopted.
Well, you're talking about what it was in terms of numbers, but not percentage.
Right. But
Because the numbers will always grow. I mean, pretty soon it'll be 15,000. And to answer Bill's question, yes, you got to pay, I think it's 15 cents per signature to the supervisor of elections. That's provided by statute, right, Rob? When you submit the signatures, he gets to charge.
Isn't initiative to referendum rather universally 10% throughout the United States?
I don't know.
I don't know if that's true.
It seems to me, I recall that from the League of Women Voters presentation, that 10% was just about everywhere. So we'll have to look into that. Is this report going to be circulated among us so that we can, you know, discuss the recommendations from each committee?
It will, and actually what we're starting to do tonight, and I need to cut that off, we're actually putting the cart before the horse, because all we do is put the report from them at another meeting, probably starting next month and for sure
We'll
in
start
March.
discussing
We're actually
all
going
of
to go into depth at each one of those things, just pay, and everybody votes on it, and then if that's the case, then we'll go to Rob, and then he.
Yeah, because we haven't, our board, I gave a summary of our report, but we haven't given a report, our final report yet. We're reviewing that today. So when all these reports are in and all the recommendations are in, then we'll have a general discussion of all the topics. Is that correct?
Correct, and we'll vote on each one of those, because I have a debate then, I'll see if it's good or bad.
With my subcommittee, when we interviewed in October, we interviewed Tom Patton, he was the existing director of the Office of Economic Development. And when Lucianne was appointed 2 weeks ago, Tammy to Bill suggested that we come and ask her, rather than do the subcommittee and all, that we just have a general discussion, because it was a recommendation from our committee that the Office of Economic Development go back to the Board of County Commissioners. But I think it's important that we hear from the existing director on how she feels before we finalize, before we as a group vote on that.
I just want to make one point and get your input if you look at it this way. I read section 2.2H as an additional ability for an advisory committee to be created. I believe the Board of County Commission can create the advisory committee for any of its MSBU's, and this section, as I read it, was put in if you didn't have one and you wanted one in your area. This was an ability to come in if you got a petition of 30 or more electors, then you could have them request that this be created. But what I think you're saying would apply to everything, not this little subsection of those that were created because 30 people asked for it. I just want to be clear, what you're suggesting would apply to all MSBU advisory committees.
Yeah, and this might not be the best language to use, but again, what we heard, and we heard some testimony that strongly supported MSBU's and MSTU's as working well in their areas. Common element is if the advisory board's not in place or not functioning, then it's going to fall back on county staff or the commissioners.
All right, constitutional officer.
So, because we're going to hand these out, I'm assuming, and everybody's going to get those, and then we'll discuss them at length. I'll just give you, which we've already talked about, last meeting we had, based on the interviews of the constitutional officers, the subcommittee has no recommendations for changes for the charter. However, we are discussing, we will be discussing, I think, as a group, if the full commission, an attorney would make the administrative recommendation by Mr. Polk, the property appraiser, regarding the GSI, the Geographic Information Service. He would like to have that within his office. And I have gone and tried to find out how it works now, and with IT, try to get some information to give to you guys when we do discuss this, and the pros and the cons of why this would and why this would not work, or that it could work and how other counties do it. So I guess once you've read, or it's not much to read on ours, but once you read this, then we'll discuss it next time, or should I discuss it now?
No, actually, that's going to be another, because that was going to be a footnote on our final report or recommendation of the commission on this.
Yes, but we didn't get to discuss it as a group. The last time we were supposed to meet, we weren't able to hold a quorum, so I wasn't able to have a meeting. So for me to make a recommendation that I think this should go before the county commissioners, I thought was inappropriate. So based on that, and we're a whole group, I thought that it should go before the group. Should we send it to the county commissioners for discussion anyway? Because I personally don't think it should, but that's my opinion based on everything that I found out. But I'd like to present that before and have everybody discuss it versus just send it up there.
Yeah, Fred.
At the meeting, when that was suggested, we asked the supervisor, or the property appraiser, and he said he thought that this could be done within his own office without going on a ballot question.
But this wasn't a valid question, but it was going to be a footnote or a recommendation from this committee that GIS system be moved.
Will this be done by administrative changes, or does it need to go on a ballot? Paul Polk said, I think it would be administrative.
Correct.
Okay.
But as a group, we would be sending that forward, and that's just 4 people or 5 people, and I feel like it should come from the group. Is this something we all would like to recommend after you hear the information and the input? That was my feeling about how we should move forward.
Yeah, the subcommittees do the groundwork in the various areas, but before anything goes officially from the Charter Review Commission, it's based on vote of the whole commission.
So, I mean, I could review some of the stuff now it's not much on how this moves forward, or we could wait until next time. It depends on, the hour and if you want to.
Well, we're going to start getting in depth next month. It might be something we might want to wait. Okay, is that good?
If you circulate the report,
Yeah.
it would help them, everybody on the next meeting.
Let's everybody get circulated all the reports, and
Yes.
then we'll know what we're discussing. We're gonna, just for public record, after this meeting adjourns, our subcommittee is gonna meet briefly to discuss our final report draft. So we'll be sticking around.
So you want me to do all the subcommittees to everybody, or the
Yes,
final report?
yes, and then, and we'll add there to the next meeting.
You got it?